For the last 50 years, Casio have been making some of the most amazing and innovative digital watches. So here we are in 2025 and they've released their first ever mechanical watch. So they're doing it back to front from most other brands. Now it makes sense to me why they've come out with an automatic watch because of the just fantastic success of the Tissot PRX and Citizen adding more and more mechanical watches and the immense success that they've had with some of their models. So Casio are dipping their toes in the water here. And thanks to the team over at Casio US, they have kindly sent a review copy in for us to look at today. And this is the Black Dial Forged Carbon. They haven't just dipped their toes in and come out with a fairly average watch. They have gone all out on this watch. The fit, finish and feel of this watch really is top quality, especially for that $280. But there are some good things, some okay things, and one negative that we do need to go over. So let's just dive into the review. You've probably seen a couple of other reviews of this watch, and I think they're getting the case size slightly off. So let's go into this. This watch is a 39mm case, but it does wear slightly bigger because the lug to lug, if you just measure it from the side of the case, that lug to lug is coming in at 44.1mm, which is not too bad. But because this has an integrated bracelet, where the bracelet integrates is more of a male end link, and that means that expands that lug to lug to a 48.5mm. So that's really where you need to measure this watch from. Fits my 7.2-inch wrist perfectly, but I probably would try this on if you do have a smaller wrist because it may overhang slightly. Because they're using an automatic movement in here, they're using the NH35A, which we'll talk about later. This is quite a tall watch, so this is coming in at 12.1mm. The lugs on this watch don't really slope down that much, so it does fit quite tall on the wrist. I thought this would be something that bothered me, but I've been wearing this watch for a week and it is very comfortable. Also has a nice weight to it, but it is quite tall on the wrist. Casio have obviously realized that and they've done a lot to reduce that. They've used a flat sapphire crystal, so you do get a sapphire crystal on the top, and then there's a mineral crystal here on the exhibition case back. The watch has 100 meters of water resistance, but it doesn't feature a screw down crown. The crown is nicely polished. It is easy to grip and set the time. We have a date complication, and this movement does feature hacking and hand winding. The case itself looks awesome. They've done a really nice brushing on here that makes the watch look very luxurious. Sometimes the Edifice watches look almost as if the polishing is been molded into the case or it's been lightly finished. This looks like it's definitely hit a polisher's wheel. We also have a highly polished bezel, which probably will scratch over time, but when you first get hold of this watch, it does look awesome, and that contrasts nicely with the dial itself. The bracelet is solid and it feels solid as well. They've done an excellent job. We've got brushed and then these polished elements on the center of the H-link bracelet. There's a push button deployant clasp with a nicely milled mechanism. Now, unfortunately, it only has 2 positions of micro adjust. I found I got quite a good fit though, using the second position of the micro adjust. And here you can see how it wears on my 7.2-inch wrist. Overall, the balance of the case, the feel on the wrist, even though it is a tall watch and has a weight to it, it is very comfortable to wear. The dial on the black version is a forged carbon dial. There is other variants that use a simulated forged carbon. It looks like from the description on the website, there is a green version, a blue version, a white version, and then there is going to be a totally forged carbon case version that does feature a rubber strap on it. Wish this one had the option to have a rubber strap as well, because I think that would be a really cool thing to swap out. There is a tiny lug width on here of 13mm, so you would have to get a spring bar in there, but I think this would look really nice on a rubber strap. Although Casio aren't usually ones for making different straps available aftermarket for their watches, but who knows if this is a big success. The forged carbon dial is complemented by nicely finished applied indices that appear to be applied to an outer ring. These again have nice polished and brushed elements, and these also contrast nicely with the polishing and the brushing on the hands. Although this forged carbon looks awesome with its different finishings and different ways it captures the light, it looks almost a bit like meteorite if you've never seen forged carbon before. But because it has a dark dial and there has polishing and brushed hands Unfortunately, it doesn't offer a lot of contrast in certain lighting conditions. As we know, polishing can look darker in certain lighting conditions or can even look black, and black hands on a black dial in some lighting conditions doesn't mean that this version isn't that legible. Now on to that negative that I mentioned at the start, and unfortunately the lume on here is not good. Here you can see a lume shot and you can hardly see the lume on it. And this is a shame because Casio usually do a good job of applying lume to their dials. The lume is also only on the tip of the hour hand and the minute hand. I wish they'd put the lume all the way down the hand and done an extra application of lume as well, and this would have also really enhanced the legibility, certainly on this black dial version. And if they'd add lume to the indices also, that again I think would have offered a nice contrast with the black dial. Now to, of course, the star of the show and the main feature of this watch, and that is this mechanical movement. They've used a Seiko, or a company that Seiko owns, TMI, they've used their NH35A movement. It makes sense to me why Casio haven't made their own mechanical movement, because really they would have had to have bought a movement manufacturer in order to do that, because to set a movement manufacturer up from scratch is millions and millions of dollars worth of investment, training watchmakers, and then coming up with your own design of movement. It makes sense, as they're dipping their toe in the mechanical watch world, that they would use an off-the-shelf movement. Here I'm going to upset some Seiko fans. I am a fan of the NH35A movement. We've reviewed plenty of watches on the channel that have this movement, but to me, this watch, the fit and finish of it, the dial is almost too good for the NH35A movement. The NH35A movement to me is a real tool watch movement. You can bash it about. It's really robust, really reliable. It's not really that accurate, but it really suits, in my mind, a tool watch. A sophisticated watch like this is really crying out for a step up in mechanical movements. I'm guessing they went with the Seiko movement because the other movements that are the next step up are the Miyota movements, so the 9000 series or the legibility movement. Both of those companies are owned by Citizen, so that's probably why they're using a Seiko movement in here. And who knows, if this watch gets more successful, maybe they do make their own movements. I think this is going to be a big hit for Casio, and it appears that it is already sold out on their website. I think for $280, it has a really strong value proposition. This is a really nice feeling quality watch. Casio have really gone all out here with their first foray into automatic watches. They've really put a lot of thought into this watch, and it really shows when you have this watch in hand. Thanks to the Casio team for sending me this in so we can take a look at it. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you hit subscribe and the thumbs up, and I'll see you next time on Casual Watch Reviews. Thanks guys, bye.